answers to the crawlers that do really well into that comp to make it really hard to navigate into a win. What is it, 17% extra HP? I don't know. It's not econ value, but there are some breakpoints that it keeps stuff alive through. It makes like the chaff versus chaff fights better. It scales as the game goes on. It's like tower HP for free, but you can stack with it later. Yeah, exactly. I think B. I don't know. There's some starts where it doesn't feel very impactful, but there are also starts where it feels great. You don't need to get tower HP for your sledges to survive Phoenix shots, too. That's an interaction that keeps coming up. Quick supply. I know there are a lot of people that just, like, snap through this in S. And 100 extra supply is a lot. I feel like supply spec is generally better. You don't feel the breakpoints in every start, other than like in the chaff versus chaff fight. But if you've got like some kind of wave clear and you're not relying on your chaff to clear their chaff, you don't feel it too much. A lot of like the sledge and steel ball games into Vulcan, you feel the defense down a lot. You get to make more stuff, but you're still kind of limited by the amount of deploys that you have. It's what, like minus 14% attack and health? I'm gonna put this in A. I don't know. It's really hard to evaluate when the stats down matters versus when you were just losing anyway. This is one that I feel like when we get a training mode that allows us to import boards, we'll see like people messing around with like turn 3, turn 4 boards, what works with what works against quick supply and what doesn't. Thinking of cost control? I am thinking of cost control. Quick supply. Plus 200. Waiting on an undo button. Yeah, that would be nice. There's a lot of misclick potential in this game. It's an econ ability, but it's only like it's not really an econ ability. It's really a tempo ability. But you can leverage that tempo into extra XP. You can get some early techs. I got like turn 1 replicate crawlers when I was jamming Rhino Crawler a bunch. And then that could snowball out of control sometimes. But I feel like the better you are at the game, the better quick supply is going to be, because the better you're able to leverage tempo. I don't know, above heavy armor, but not quite. Not as good as cost control. I've definitely gained the most respect for quick supply over time. Just like being able to tech early. Because there are some techs that are really impactful early that are hard to fit in later on. Quick supply turn 1 Vulcan. Quick supply turn 2 Vulcan sometimes too. You usually want to turn 2 because you want to know where their chaff is positioned before committing to the Vulcan. Supply spec. I like supply spec a lot. 50 a turn is a ton. Games usually go to like turn 7, turn 8. And even as soon as turn 2, you can start to feel the 50. If you just save the 50 from turn 1, you have an extra 100 on turn 2. Which then means you can afford to take something that costs 50 from the card selection rather than skip if you want to buy 2 200 costs. And that alone can represent a good amount of tempo. Supply spec's so good. Yeah. I don't often like turn 1 buy a 200 cost unit, but it is an option too. I've got aerial spec. It's every time there's a lot of games where I try to make Phoenix as my ranged unit of choice, only to realize my opponent has aerial spec and their Phoenixes are outranging my Phoenixes for the entire game. The range is like sleeper underrated on aerial spec. And the extra econ's not irrelevant either. Like the 50 extra unlocking Phoenix or the 200 extra when you unlock Overlord. I liked this a lot when I was doing Overlord ball stuff. The extra range on the Overlord was really relevant when I snapped off Launcher Overload every time. Makes it pretty easy to go into like Phoenix Vulcan. The extra range gets the Phoenix shooting a bit faster. Protects it a bit more from their ranged units. I think I'd at least like it more than Quick Supply. I'm gonna throw it in A alongside Cost Control. This might be a spicy take. I don't know how the community in general feels about Aerial Spec. Elite. I'm like 10-0 with Fang Elite starts over the last like 4 days. It makes it very hard for me to not like put this high up. That said, it is sort of exploitable, and there are a lot of starts that just don't really work. But the strategies that are good with Elite, like Elite enables things that you couldn't do otherwise. I feel like your evaluation of how good Elite Specialist is just depends how good you think the best Elite Specialist starts are. And, I don't know, empirically, the best Elite Spec starts are very good for me. And if it's bad, you just, like, don't pick it. Like, when you're offered those, what, like, Steel Ball Arclight starts, you just don't take it. Elite's like inverse cost control. It's weird, because like cost control can roleplay as Elite Spec. If you just spend the 100 on the level 2 unit buys. Like, I think it's definitely worse than cost control. Because like cost control can sort of play as an optional Elite if they want to, but also buy level 1 units early on in the game when the econ matters. But yeah, it's like... If we're talking about, like, the average Elite Spec that's offered, it's probably, like, here or here. But the good Elite Spec starts, I think, are A. And because it's only going to matter when you have the good start, otherwise you just pick one of the other options, I think I feel justified throwing it into A. Now we have Giant Spec. This is probably... I don't know. If you watch how I play, I don't take advantage of giant units as much as I should. I definitely like Aerial Spec more. It theoretically saves you a lot of money. I think I just need to be more familiar with when it's time to throw down giant units. But my win rate on Giant Spec is abysmal. It doesn't offer the range up that Aerial does. It does let you do early Vulcan stuff, early Fortress stuff. Lets you do the early Overlord stuff the same way that Aerial Spec does. I mean, it's probably better than Quick Supply, right? Quick Supply is just so much more versatile. Every time you pick Giant Spec, you forget you have Giant Spec. Every time I pick Giant Spec, I don't want to unlock any Giants because I don't want to spend 400 on any Giants. Ugh. What is going below B? I'll knock Heavy Armor down. God, I really like Heavy Armor, though. I think that's just, like, a statement on how well-designed the specialists are. It's almost easier to have Giants with cost control than Giant Spec. Yeah. If you just bank the 100 from turn 1 and carry it over into turn 2, it's like getting a free unlock. But then you still got the extra 100 over the course of the game for every turn. You like having turn 2 boat? I don't know, I always just want to buy 2 units. Cost control Giants are so squishy. Yeah, sorta. Marksman Spec. This is probably the specialist that is most responsible for me wanting to concede the game on turn 1. But I don't think it's very good most of the time. I pretty much only take it when there's sledges available, too. And it gives an easy way to, like, have Chaff plus Marksman Sledge turn 1. Like, Crawler Sledge Marksman Spec is a start that I think is really good. Probably Fang, too. Surely D for Marksman. I don't know, it's down here. Is it worse than Heavy Armor? the only 200 cost unit that I like it with is Sledge. And I guess when you have like the Sledge Crawler start, most other things are good too. I'm gonna... Okay, fine. Arbitrary enough. Rhino spec. So I find myself losing to getting blindsided by the Rhino a lot. I'll like look at their spec on turn 1, and then by the time turn 3 rolls around, I'll have forgotten about it and not have an answer to Rhino, and then get blown out. But that's probably solved by just not playing like a monkey. Now you do get to sell the Rhino, which is an unlock of your field recovery and 200. So it's sort of like a slightly delayed quick supply, but also gives you the potential to cheese with the Rhino for a turn if you want, and forcing out an answer. So like it can't be that bad. But like even when the Rhino's bad, you're getting fairly good value out of it. And a lot of the time the Rhino's good for at least a turn. You know, just like throwing it in one of their flanks and then selling it the turn after. Extra 300. Well, it's extra. Depends how much you buy field recovery. For me, it's an extra 200 because I don't respect field recovery as much as I should. Is it worse than quick supply? 350 because you keep the unlock. That only matters if you're making more Rhinos. And if you're selling the Rhino, you're probably not making more Rhinos. Is it better than heavy armor? It's worse than quick supply, I think. Yeah. I think something like that. And then we've got speed spec, which is... I really don't know how I feel about speed spec. In terms of raw value, speed spec seems so awful. It's what, 3 move speed on everything? But it does stack with the tower buff. And I do really like Crawler Rhino pushes. It's probably better than heavy armor for the Crawler Rhino pushes. It makes you better into Hacker and Steel Ball. It might let you get off your Whirlwind before Phoenix snipes your Rhino. Whereas I don't know how much heavy armor ever matters in that interaction. Giants are great with speed also. Yeah, they're better with speed. It's pretty good with, well, I say it's pretty good with Fangs, but every time I've tried carry Fangs with speed spec, I've just gotten buried. So maybe I'm lying. I do see top players value this pretty high. Like, I think I see more speed spec than heavy armor spec as I'm spectating high-level games. But that said, this is my tier list, and I am putting it directly above heavy armor. There we go. It balanced out pretty well, too. Supply spec at S, cost control aerial spec, elite at A. I'm really putting elite at A. This looks nicer. There we go. Now we've got a perfect pyramid. Why supply at S? 50 extra per turn is just kind of a lot, and it makes breakpoints work really well. Means on turn 2 you don't have to skip if you wanna just rewind and watch. I don't know. Going over it. Perfect Phoenix. Oh, it is a Phoenix. Perfect. Gotta handle elite spec in the early rounds. Pretty much every time I'm picking elite spec, I'm just making Fangs. And only Fangs. And then maybe Steel Balls and Rhinos. And then more Fangs.